Perfect.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Jim Feist Pro Football Handicapping Show here at Don DeMarco's Pizzeria and Wine Bar, located at 9785 West Charleston Boulevard. My name is Tommy Canale. I'll be the host and moderator of the show today. To my right are three fabulous panel guests, I guess I should say. You guys are like, we got the leader in the clubhouse in West Reynolds, so to speak, from Long Shots Podcast, a number of appearances. But I think Scott Pritchard just jumped on to fill in. Might be tied with the leader in the clubhouse. So give a round of applause for Jim Feist, Wes Reynolds, and Scott Pritchard, an all-star cast we got with us. But before we get going, Jim, I want to talk to you about something. I understand if you're looking for the best handicapping content on YouTube, you got to go to Proline TV, join the membership, and you get weekly top picks from yourself, Mark Lawrence, and more. Tell me about this.
Well, Proline TV is totally free. Unless you want to buy some picks, and it's really cheap, $59, $49 for a whole month of premier picks. So that's pretty awesome price.
Yeah.
And you just go there and click on the join button. If you're confused about anything, go to the community center and ask the questions, and we'll answer the questions for you. Same thing for Mark and others that will be joining that. But it's a very inexpensive site. Not high roller stuff. So, $49 for the whole month.
Awesome. We are live on both Dom DeMarco's YouTube channel and Proline TV. Text your questions or comments anytime during our show. We will get to all your questions at the end of the show. Where I want to start here, guys, let's get into the Thursday game with the Jets at the Patriots. Now, the Jets, believe it or not, Jim, are on what they call a winning streak.
Are the Jets a football team?
Well, they are a football team. They've won 2 in a row, but they're going to New England. The Patriots are looking really good. The line at one time when I opened up to look at it was 10.5. It's up to 12.5 with a total 43.5. Jim, first off, tell me, do the Jets have any chance to extend this winning streak?
Well, of course.
Anybody
could beat anybody. I mean, the Jets had, I think, less than 100 yards last week, 40-some yards passing. It's a mess. The Giants are a mess. The Jets are a mess. But I got to say something about another team. The Giants, they got a new coach, and they're bringing back the most entertaining, most unbelievable quarterback in all the game. You never know what he's going to do. He's just as likely to throw the ball to you or to the other guy, Jameis Winston. And believe me, I love this guy. He is awesome, and he's so entertaining. Everybody loves him on the team. The people on the team love him. He's very coachable, but he just doesn't know who to throw the ball to, so he just throws it to anybody. But it's going to be very interesting. They fired their coach. They got a new coach. Now, you're going to have the new coach bump. I'm going to ask Wes and Scott this question, but he is very entertaining. He's not a guy that's going to give you a lot of wins, but he's going to give you a lot of laughs.
He can throw the ball down the field, though, still, and he can make plays, which is probably more than I can say for what we saw with Russell Wilson when he came in. Because I was on the Giants last week, and I felt like they're going to win the game outright. We'll get to the Bears momentarily, but it's like they're going to win. And then Jackson Dart, who he's got a lot of moxie. Like, I think he's got something, but he left with the concussion, not able to play this week, and they put Russell Wilson in, and they just couldn't really move the football.
Yeah.
Like, it was like they were stuck in neutral. And Jameis Winston can still fire the ball down the field. Now it can go the other way. But what was he, 30-30-30 club? 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions.
Is he the only one that's ever done that?
He's good. He's good for the over.
Yeah, no question.
Wes, what's your thoughts on the Thursday game? It's an ugly game on paper.
It is, and it would be, and I'm probably not going to bet this, it would be Jets actually or nothing, just because I don't want to lay the Patriots at the top of the market. And all of our good friend Dave Koken, I remember him once saying, you don't get rich laying double digits in the NFL. So, I'm not going to be wont to do that necessarily. And the Patriots are, Drake May's getting the MVP talk, and the national media are like, the Patriots are back. They're back to what they used to be in the 2000s and the 2010s. But I don't want any part of the Jets, but I don't want to lay the Patriots at the top of the market.
Scott, is this a teaser game?
I don't do teasers. I do straight plays, and I will be on both sides of this game. I like the JETS plus the 13 points, number one. Number two, so many of you have been asking about the Survivor contest. Who am I kidding? No one's asked other than my mom. She's the only one who cares. Well, I care, so you're going to have to listen to it. The Westgate Survivor contest, first year they've had it, $5,000 entry fee. We're down to 8 people out of 111 competing for $555,000. I've got one entry alive. I'll be on the New England Patriots, hoping that the rest of the field has already played them. I've sandbagged some good teams, including Philly, including the Chargers. I don't think this contest will last another 4 to 5 weeks. So if I should win $555,000, I told my boy Feist I'm a little disappointed because if I lose our friendly wager, he has the Packers, I have the Packers, he has the Lions for the division. I'm only going to net $554,500. And I'm not happy about that. But I like the Jets plus the points. Points mean more than opinions. I'm also alive in the Survivor contest for the Circa Survivor. We started with 17,800 people competing for 18,800,000. We're down to 1,000. So wish me luck. But it wasn't for the hapless, hopeless, coachless Giants and the Broncos not scoring 33 points in the fourth quarter, we'd be down to about 450 contestants in that contest. But yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Wow.
So, Scott, are you taking New England in Circuit too?
Good luck.
I absolutely am. Yeah, I'll be on the Pats just to win, baby. Just win.
Yeah.
And hopefully, not to get greedy, but I'll take the plus 13 with the Jets. I see some value there.
I already did. I laid 11, and I never laid double digits, but this Jet team is absolutely horrible.
All right.
Yeah, so I don't know that they score.
Okay. Wes, let me ask you this. Are the Bears the most dangerous team in the NFL right now?
I don't know if they're the most dangerous. I think they're one of the more overrated ones, to be honest with you. And, I talked about that a little bit last week. The turnover regression, because what were they? I think like plus 15 over the last 5 games. Now they're plus 16 over the last 6. And part of that is, look, credit Caleb Williams. He's not giving the ball away, but he takes sacks instead of turning the ball over. Like you'll see a lot of times it'll be like 3rd and 19. Because he's taken 2 sacks on the drive, so that's almost like a turnover or half a turnover anyway, because you're punting the football. But I think the Bears have been fortunate. They've been getting a lot of turnovers. They're banged up in the secondary, especially. So I actually laid it with Minnesota.
You did
earlier this week. I laid money line. It's now getting up to 3 with some bigs.
That's what I see at 3.
Some other people have that same idea because McCarthy is what McCarthy is. He's essentially a rookie quarterback, even though he's a second-year guy. And you're going to see peaks and valleys. Peak was against Detroit, where he's kind of okay, but he was good enough. And then last week against Baltimore, he's same thing. He's kind of okay, but they weren't good enough, and Baltimore played really well in the second half. But I think this is the buy on Minnesota. I know a lot of people are wanting to play that Bears revenge angle because remember Minnesota and the opening week on Monday Night Football got the win at Soldier Field, but I just think when you're living off turnovers like that, eventually it regresses the other way, and I think that's coming for the Bears.
Jim, the total's at 48.5. It was 46. I know you like some of these totals. Is this one of them you like?
No, because I don't know what to get out of J.J. McCarthy. He absolutely has shown me nothing. I haven't seen anything from him that would indicate to me he's an NFL quarterback at this stage of his career. Now, I do think he has talent. I do think he can develop into something. I just don't think he's there. I think Minnesota made a big mistake not negotiating with Darnold and keeping him and depending on JJ to be what he might eventually be. They're throwing away a lot of opportunity here because they have a great roster in many other ways and a very good coach. I'm not sure that I agree with Wes on this one because I just can't lay points with Minnesota. I don't see where they're getting the points from. JJ has to produce, and he just hasn't produced.
Scott, where are you on this game?
Strong opinion. The Chicago Bears, they're dangerous. Yeah, they're dangerous to themselves and dangerous to their fans. They're overhyped, overrated. 3rd best team in their division on a good day. And this team, they've won not 1, not 2, but 3 times a lady. They won 3 games that were miracle wins, including this past weekend. I like the Vikings at home, and I like the Vikings on a cheap money line. Find the cheapest money line. I don't lay points, generally speaking, in the NFL, but the Vikings are the better team. They have the better roster, and my quarterback doesn't paint his fingernails, so that's a plus.
Let me go right back to you and want us to leave that right where it's at.
He's gone back to a former life when he was a stand-up comic.
Wes Matthews Stafford is building a legitimate case for MVP. Seattle's coming into town. The Rams are -3, total 48.5. I know with the big trade with Seattle, I think it's going to pay dividends. What's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, and I talked about last week how I felt both of these teams are going to now get bought in the market because Seattle was so impressive on national TV against Washington on Sunday Night Football. And then what were they up 35-0 against Arizona at one point last week, even though Arizona made it a little closer. They had those 2 defensive touchdowns that made it a little bit more lopsided. But the Rams, they go to the 49ers, get revenge. Easy win for the Rams, and the 49ers had been finding ways to win games despite the fact that they're injured. I have not bet this as of yet. 7-2. These 2 teams are being talked about as like, hey, let's pay attention to them in the NFC, that they might be contenders. Lean a little bit to the over on the total. Haven't done anything on the side, but over 48.5. I think Darnold proved he wasn't a one-year wonder in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And he's carried that over. And the Rams, despite the fact the defense can be had if they don't get pressure up front. So I think Darnold will be able to move the ball, and I think the Seattle defensive line does get pressure. But Stafford has been throwing it all over the yard. Kind of a renaissance season considering he had that back issue in the offseason. So over for me.
What about you, Jim?
I really like the over, actually. And I know they both have good defenses, but the offenses, and I think that the rules and everything favor the offenses. It's hard to stop them. They're very explosive. Stafford is having an amazing season. Darnold's having a great season. They are explosive. This is a big, big game, very important. I had picked the Rams to be in the NFC Championship game, but I had them against the Bucs. But the Bucs have never played a game without tons of injuries, so their season has never developed because of that. So it's going to probably be somebody else on the other side of that. This could be the NFC Championship game right here. These are 2 good teams. I'm going with the over here. I think they're both going to spread the field. They're both going to get it going offensively. I don't see them slowing down. I like it a lot.
Scott, do you agree with Jim?
Usually.
Not on this game.
Well, I have to say I have an opinion here. When I came back from Thailand in August, Jim Feist and I sat down at the absolute best Italian restaurant on the planet, a place called DeMarco's, which is where we are here today. And what I can do, Feist can do better, because I told him it's worth 6 figures for me. I bet the Niners at -160 to make the playoffs, and I bet the Rams to make the playoffs at -160. So that's going to be a nice payday because they're both going to get there. I do not have a copper penny on the Seattle Seahawks, but as I say, what I can do, Feist can do better because he proactively said in August, anyone can say anything on a Monday morning quarterback situation after the fact, but he said, I like the Broncos this year, and I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I said, are you kidding me? Baker Mayfield? The dude was the front runner for MVP a few weeks ago, but that's history. It's going to be the quarterback from the Rams, a guy by the name of Stafford. May, feel-good story for the Pats. Can someone please explain to me who the hell the Seattle Seahawks have beaten? It's a feel-good story. They have 2 losses, but their victories not impressed. Like I said right here a week ago, the Rams are going to stick it to the Niners. They're going to stick it to Seattle this weekend. Watch and learn.
Jim, I want to come back to you. Packers offensive lineman Jenkins is out indefinitely with a broken bone in his leg. Is there cause for concern in Green Bay?
Oh boy, Scott's going to get mad at me if I say this. I think the Green Bay Packers are going to miss the playoffs. I am not a Jordan Love fan.
Is LaFleur's job in jeopardy?
It should be.
Okay.
It should be. Now, can the Lions hold up? I think so. I think they beat the Packers when they go to Detroit. I like Detroit to win that division. And when you go back to the Tampa Bay issue that we just talked about, all you have to do to get in the playoffs is win your division. It's not so easy for most teams, but I do think Tampa Bay will win their division. So they will get into the playoffs, and I will cash that ticket. Where I probably will lose is they probably won't make the championship game because of all those injuries.
Right.
But as far as this game this question is concerned, I think the Packers are. I'd probably bet the Packers miss the playoffs.
So with that being said, they're going to go to the New York Giants, as you just said, with James Winston. Packers are favored by 7, totals 43.5. Are you going to take the Packers?
No.
Are you staying away from this game?
No. I got to have something on Jameis. I mean, this is. I mean, I'm gonna sit there. I'm gonna enjoy him. He's gonna throw the ball to me, or he's gonna throw the ball to the other guy. And you're gonna get the new coach bounce, most likely. Last week they really could have beaten Chicago, and too bad Dart got hurt. But they're running him too much, and Daboll should have gotten fired for doing that because the kid has been in the blue tent way too often. The concussion protocol. You can kill these quarterbacks if you do that. And but I think they're going to come with a lot of fire. The players are going to be fired up to have a new coach. And Jameis is going to go out there and play. As Wes said, this guy can throw the ball, and he will always throw it with a completion, one side or the other. So I would play this game. I'd probably play it over.
Scott, I want to ask you then to piggyback on what Jim said. Do you think there's cause for concern in Green Bay?
Not in the least. The Green Bay Packers are stacked. They've got some injury concerns. The wide receiver is a concern. But, I sat here a few short weeks ago when the talking heads on ESPN said that the Detroit Lions were the top team in football, and I belly laughed out loud. I think I vomited a little bit.
Those guys never get it wrong, by the way.
Yeah. Well, my boy Feist pounced on it because I said I'm not even convinced the Lions, forget being the top team out of 32, not even convinced they're the top team in the league. But Feist, the opportunist pioneer that he is, called me out and said, I've got $100 that says that they win the division over your Packers. I said, well, let's make it 500. And so now we have a $500 bet. But the fact that he just vomited over the Packers, I would be willing to say I'll bet another $500 that the Packers do make the playoffs. And, they already beat the Lions. There's going to be a lot of pressure on the Lions Thanksgiving Day, right? They beat them by 2 touchdowns, and if the Packers should happen to steal that victory in Detroit, they've got the inside track for the division. So,
are you going to lay the points this weekend?
Not only I'm a dog player. But
okay.
In one word, hell yes. But this shouldn't be 7, 7.5, 8 points. That should be the first half line. Packers lay the points, see the cashier.
So, Jim, are you going to accept this secondary bet he's going to throw at you?
I think I'm just going to sit.
Doing the soft shoe back pedal.
Yeah, I'm not going to put real money on Jameis Winston.
I got it.
Yeah, I will put real money on the over. I definitely think it's an overplay.
Wes, I want to go to you. Let's talk about Sunday night's game with Detroit going to Philadelphia. The Eagles are favored by 2.5. Totals at 46.5. The Eagles defense did shine in prime time. So what's your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, when I'm looking at this, I guess I shouldn't be surprised that the Eagles getting a little bit of support from the opener. But if you watch them on Monday night, you certainly are impressed with the offense. And it's been a little off-kilter this year, too, because you have everybody in new roles. Because remember, Kellen Moore was the offensive coordinator, now the head coach in New Orleans, and he took most of his staff with him down there. So when you switch chairs and you bump guys from like a position coach to a coordinator, it takes time to get used to that. It's like basketball, moving one seat over from an assistant to a head coach. Mm-hmm. There's a transition. And Detroit last week, now, you got to consider the opponent because Washington is awful right now. But Dan Campbell went ahead and took over that play calling. And because remember, Ben Johnson now is in Chicago, so John Morton's the offensive coordinator. But Dan Campbell took that over, and that Lions offense looked very potent. And they sometimes, they're indoor-outdoor team, right? They're really potent indoors, and then outdoors, it can be a little bit questionable. But, yeah, I think if threes come, and I think we see one down at the tip of the strip at the South Point, I think you're going to see some action on Detroit, and it might be some line.
What's your thoughts on this game, Jim?
I like Detroit. I really
shocking.
I'm shocked. Is there any way we could kind of mute him?
I do have a mute button if you'd like me to hit.
That's good. No, I like Detroit here. I think they're going to go on a roll. They have the talent. They got the offense. They got the offensive line. They got the quarterback. They got a very aggressive head coach that sometimes he shouldn't be as aggressive as he is. And they've got a good, solid defense. Now, granted, everybody in the league has or they have injuries. They have defensive injuries. I like Detroit here.
Scott, is this the time of the year where we saw last year where Philadelphia starts to look ugly, but is also putting the pieces together to make a run?
Yes and no. I mean, they were an eyelash away from being 1-3 a year ago, as they were. It was a 3-point line against the Saints, and they came back to win that game. They started out 2-2, and then didn't lose again, including the Super Bowl. But the fact is, it's a different year, different team. While I respect the roster, I like Sirianni. In fact, although I thought it was a bonehead decision to go for it on 4th down as opposed to kicking the field goal or punting with 33 seconds to go in the game, he got lucky there. But what was the question?
Is this the time of year they start to put it together? The last year they looked ugly about this time as well, and all of a sudden they started rolling.
Yeah, again, based on the fact it's a different year, different team. The fact is they've been outscored 6, 7, 8 times against the opposition, and the final score is just another stat. Congrats to them with the 2 losses. They're not as good as the record, but they will stick it to Dan Campbell, who, this self-promoting prick, has to come on board, and it's always about him. You know, oh yeah, after they beat a weak sister as a 9-point, oh, I was the offensive coordinator for the game. It's like, yeah, can we talk about the team instead of your personal accolades? Not a Campbell fan. He's a riverboat gambler, and he would never make it in Vegas for 30 seconds. So he maybe a coach in the NFL is better for him. But yeah, Philadelphia definitely in this game.
Jim, I know you've been on the Broncos and been singing their praises and talking good about them, but their offense is struggling right now. And Kansas City's coming to town. The Chiefs are a 3.5-point favorite. The total's 44.5. Are you going to stick with the Broncos?
I thought this was a great spot to play Kansas City. I didn't think that they would come in this big of a favorite. It's really hard for me to go there. I mean, Denver does have a very good, solid, dependable defense.
Right.
So it's really hard for me to say Kansas City's going to go in there and beat them by more than this points for it. I can't. I don't feel that. I just don't see it. I lean to the under in this game. I have to lean to the dog, but not for a big bet. I'd make a bigger bet on the under than on the side, but I do think that the right side might be the dog.
Wes, what's your thoughts on this game and what's going on with their offense?
Yeah, Jim kind of hit it here in the fact that this was a spot for Kansas City right off the bye. We know how good Andy Reid is off the bye from his time in Philly and also in Kansas City. In fact, I was just reading some little nuggets on this game. Reid and Mahomes together off extra rest, whether it's a bye or they played on Thursday and then they play on the following Sunday. Sometimes you get those like 10 days in between games. Are 34-10 straight up. So they're going to be well prepared for this, but the odds makers kind of know it, and that's why they're giving you a tax. I was hoping this was going to be a solid 3, and then I would lay Kansas City. Now you're seeing 4 and 4 juiced as well, which means 4.5 might be around the corner. Because I think the odds makers know that Denver, are they really what their record says they are? Are they really an 8-2 team? And I'm not convinced that they are at all. They've been very fortunate. They're fortunate to beat the Raiders, I thought, last Thursday night. Now, Thursday night is weird because you don't have a lot of prep time, but I can't get there with the Broncos. This is a little bit of a high price. I would maybe look money line or with something, but Kansas City is the only side I would be on here. I just think Denver's a little bit overvalued.
Scott, I know you're big with the Kansas City coaching staff. Are you going to be on the Chiefs?
Well, all I know is when Wes Reynolds speaks, I listen.
I'm like, yeah, fun. Yeah.
And you should too. And here's why: the Denver Broncos are a complete fraud at 8-2. 1, 2, 3. That's all you need to know. 1, 2, 3. They beat the hapless, hopeless, coachless Giants by 1 point on a miracle 33-point fourth quarter win. They beat on a neutral field, not even at Mile High Stadium in Denver, but they beat the Jets by 2. And they beat Pete Carroll, an antique, with Chip Kelly as the offensive coordinator and a shit quarterback in Geno Smith by 3. So this is the team you want to put your money on? There's a reason why the Sharps have bet this up from 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, and it's going to continue to go vertical. Play the favorite. Coming from a dog player, play the favorite. Chiefs win.
Who do you like in the total? With the total?
No opinion.
No opinion. Wes, anything on the total?
Lean under here because I do think Denver's defense is for real. They're not fraudulent. The offense, as Scott was saying, I think is fraudulent because, Bo Nix, if you let him turn the ball over to you, he will. And I think he's just very up and down. He certainly can make plays, but they don't have the firepower, I think, offensively, especially if they did give me a shootout with a Kansas City, which I don't think is going to happen. And one thing about Kansas City, if you watch them over the years, when they get a lead, they kind of play with their food a little bit. They don't always put the pedal to the metal. It's let's just keep moving the chains and hold the ball, long drives, work the clock, and they're willing to do that. They protect leads better than about anybody.
Scott, look.
I think total under.
You like total under?
Is a solid bet. Yeah, I really do.
All right. Scott, let me go to you. Carolina loses to the Saints in Tyler Show's second start, and now going into Atlanta. And you got Atlanta favored by 3.5, 42.5. You're a dog player. Is this where you take the Panthers and the points?
Yeah, that's the toughest question anyone has ever asked me in the last 5 minutes. And I say this because, Matt Humans here, pro better, all-around good guy. He had gone on record on his TV show talking about the Carolina Panthers have been a dog 9 times this year. And I discredited it because the fact is they were 5-4, and they were one of my picks for Survivor this past week because they were at home against a rookie quarterback, Shuck from Louisville, who just had his ass handed to him in Los Angeles against the Rams the week before, second consecutive road game. And the fact is the Carolina Panthers are world beaters at home. They beat the Atlanta Falcons 30-0, but now they're going to Atlanta. Revenge. The one thing the Falcons do, they've got talent. They can run the ball. I like their defense. They're at home. But I'm telling you, I don't trust the Carolina Panthers plus the 3.5. This is a hard pass for me.
Wes?
Ditto for me, a pass on this one because we talked about it last week, Carolina, New Orleans, and Carolina had not, I think, covered it as a favorite in 4 years. Now, they hadn't been a favorite very often, but, 9 times as an underdog, they go 5-4, and then they're a favorite against New Orleans, and I ended up being on New Orleans, even though Tyler Shuck's second road start, he looked pretty solid, actually. He didn't look like the game overwhelmed him at all, and Carolina, I'm not buying that offense right now. They've got some injuries on the offensive line. Bryce Young, he's not the total Pitts, but he's not great either, and he's still 5'10", 5'11". So I hate to be that guy, he's just too small, but he's not having a growth spurt anytime soon. So it's really hard when you're a small size quarterback. It's been done before, but not very often. So I don't know what to do with this because I don't know Atlanta's psyche either. They come back from Berlin in a game that they led the Colts late. And the Colts were turning the ball over, and they got into overtime. Taylor with the walk-off touchdown. So how do you get over that from coming from that long trip over? Now, at least you're at home this week, but gosh, nothing for me here.
Jim, you going to pass too?
Well, these two teams are proof that the Tampa Bay Bucks will win this division and make the playoffs. So I feel very secure about that. I don't trust either one of these teams, but I trust Atlanta in this particular spot a little bit more. So I'd say money line Falcons.
Well, the last international game of the season is going to be in Madrid this week with the Commanders and the Dolphins, a game everybody's going to be tuning in to watch in Madrid.
Absolutely.
I've seen this line change sides. It was, when I first looked, it was Washington, and now I see it's Miami's favored. Wes, what's your thoughts on this? I mean, this game in Madrid, I don't know what I think about either team here.
This one makes me want to watch soccer on Sunday. To be honest with you, I'll be watching the Premier League instead of this. But yeah, I don't know what to make of it either. The Commanders, I kind of maybe thought, okay, at 9 last week, is it a little high against the Lions? Bettors bet what they see last, and the Commanders look terrible on Sunday night. And Dan Quinn, leaves Jaden Daniels in for some inexplicable reason when it was 31-7. I don't even know what it was, but it's I don't know. Maybe turn the hat around from backwards to forwards. Maybe that'll change the luck for the Commanders. I don't know, but they're banged up, especially at receiver. Terry McLaurin, Indianapolis boys, still out. Miami, all of a sudden, and I was on them last week against Buffalo. Do they have some confidence now? Because you knew that they were kind of going to give a better effort in a division game after they got their butts kicked by Baltimore on Thursday Night Football. So Miami's certainly getting a lot of support. I don't know if I'm really willing to lay them as a favorite, to be honest with you. I'm not going to say one game. Oh, they beat Buffalo, so bettors bet what they see last. And you're seeing this move because you're seeing some threes all of a sudden on the board. Commanders have passed me.
Jim, what's your thoughts after seeing what Miami did with Buffalo this week? Are you staying away from this game, or are you going to get on one side?
Well, Miami, that was a big game, beating a division rival, Buffalo. That was huge. Madrid, if you've never been there, is a kind of a fun city. So I think that they're going to go over there and have some parties. And I'm going to pass. They can party. I'm passing.
What about you, Scott?
Yeah, I like the Dolphins with the cheap money line here. The fact is, we talk about a division game with the Dolphins at home embarrassing the Buffalo Bills. Didn't see that coming, but like West, the Dolphins home team dog division game plus the points was definitely the play. But in this, people forget, early in the season on a Thursday night, the fact is the Dolphins played the Bills tough in Buffalo. I actually, down the middle, solves the riddle. I had plus 12 in that game and then laid the 9.5 late, and it fell 10. So middles are tough. You can't have to steer it in there. But that was one day I think I had a good CDL license and I steered it right down the middle. And nothing gets me more excited and pisses off the sports books more than when you hit a middle. And I live for that moment. So I like the Dolphins. Proactively find the cheap money line you can get. I don't trust them to lay points ever, but I think that they win the game.
Scott, is this the week then that Buffalo bounces back at home with Tampa Bay coming into town? They are a 6.5-point favorite.
Well, there's a reason for that. Again, the Buffalo Bills, they've been mocked and heckled and laughed at, and for good reason. They've pretty much done this to themselves, and now they're behind the 8 ball. The Pats are the favorite, and they should be for the division title. The fact is, I expect the Bills to go into Foxborough and stick it to the Patriots, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. The Bills, I expect, will bounce back and win this weekend because their running game, they average 160 yards per game. They're very good against the pass. They're not good against the run. But defensively, last I checked, they were 12th. Offensively, 3rd, but 1st in running the football. I love teams that run the ball.
What about you, Jim?
Let's give this one to Wes.
Okay. Wes, we just threw the pass has been thrown to you. Winston has passed you the ball.
Well, can I throw that grenade right back because I don't have a bet yet on this game? But, to what Scott said, I think his points are absolutely correct here on Buffalo. And with Tampa, and I know Jim said they're in good shape to win the division. I still believe that. I think Jim is right just because of who is chasing or not chasing them right now. But how long can Tampa Bay withstand all these injuries?
Listen, I'm a Bucs fan, and we're decimated.
Yeah.
I don't see how we come back.
McMillan's been out all year. Evans, of course, is out. Godwin is looking like he's not going to play. Bucky Irving going to miss another game. The offensive line has been banged up, even though I do believe they got Wirfs back. So that's key. But
what's the weather?
Exactly. So
It's not terrible.
Numbers right here, I think, kind of in that middle, 5.5, 6, where it's not going to quite get to 7 because you'll have some dog players and value players, I think, come in on Tampa Bay. But it'd be Buffalo or nothing, but it's probably going to be nothing.
And it's nothing for you, Jim?
No, well, the weather is the key.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of bad weather on the East Coast. By the way, Cleveland is 23 miles an hour, up to almost 40-mile-an-hour gusts. And they're right on the lake, so they get that lakefront thing. And it can be really bad there. So I bet that game pretty hard under. And you never know if the weather prediction is any better than the big prediction of the team, but especially when you're doing it on Tuesday or Wednesday and the game's on Sunday. But I believe that it's going to be a bad weather. Now, that is not far away from Buffalo. It's only 2 hours by car. So you could get some bad weather there. So I think the best bet here is under the 50 because you mentioned the Tampa hasn't played a game healthy all year. They're only going to win that division because the other teams in that division suck. So they're going to make the playoffs because of that. I don't know if they're ever going to get healthy in 2025, but I'm going to play the under. I would love to play Tampa if they were healthy, but they're not.
Wes, let's go into what Jim just hit on in Baltimore going into Cleveland. Ravens are favored by 7.5. The total was at 41.5. It's now down to 39.5. But here's another thing. Harbaugh said at their bye week at 1-5 that they were going to make the playoffs. Now they've won a couple, and their upcoming schedule they have the Jets, the Bengals, and the Steelers all at home before they go to Cincinnati. So their schedule plays into their favor as well. But what's your thoughts on Baltimore going into Cleveland?
Yeah, it almost looks too easy.
It does.
We were talking about Baltimore last week, that they're kind of the bye team. Like, they're coming to chase down the Steelers, I think. And what you saw from the Steelers probably doesn't inspire you based on what you saw on Sunday night. I still think Baltimore's the best team in that division. They're going to end up maybe winning. And I think they're still going to win that division, actually. But I did bet 8 earlier today. I took +8 with Cleveland. It's now down to 7.5. And it went down a little bit because Lamar did not practice today, knee soreness. Now, I think that's precautionary. I don't think he's going to miss the game, and I didn't bet it just because of that. I just thought that the number went a little bit too far because who the hell would want to bet Cleveland? And sometimes you have to make these bets. Like, who the hell would want to bet a team based on what you saw last week? This team lost to the Jets, who, traded, half their team is what people are saying. Certainly traded a lot of cogs on the defense, and Cleveland still couldn't get it done. But this is the spot where Cleveland has been solid this year. Remember, they were about the same against Green Bay and beat the Packers outright. So when you get, an over touchdown underdog at home, I know the Ravens have been playing well and they've gotten a little bit healthier. I thought it was a little much. By the way, second straight road game for the Ravens. They went to Minnesota, got off to a slow start, by the way, and then ran away and hit a little bit in the second half. But I thought 8 was a little high here, so I'm on the Browns.
Scott, because of the weather conditions, this is a good place to play the home dog.
Well, adverse weather usually neutralizes talent, but at 1-5, I proactively said that the Ravens would actually make the playoffs, and it was for 2 reasons. One, schedule, and Steelers. Overrated, overhyped. And now, as long as I got past the Vikings on the road as a small favorite, as a 4, I think this team is going to continue to cruise. To your point, Tommy, and by the way, you need to get this book. What is it? It's the Buddy Holly.
Shadows over Clear Lake?
Shadows over Clear Lake. I'm a big rock fan, music historian. I knew everything there was to know about the day the music died in Clear Lake, Iowa, back in '59 with the Big Bopper and Richie Valens and Buddy Holly. Holly unfortunately passed, but I didn't know Dick until I read that book. And he autographed it and spelled my name right with 2 T's instead of 1. I want to thank you for that. $25 to make it holla. You can't beat that. I like the under in this game. And, Feist, this guy, success never sleeps, and neither does Jim Feist. 6:02 this morning, he texted me the weather conditions, and I'm thinking, wow. I think he was surprised that I actually responded back. But, Matt Humans every now and again will text me at all hours of that. 4 o'clock in the morning, he's texting me, but it's to find out if Spearmint Rhino was still open.
Scott, I want to stay with you because you brought up the Steelers. They're at home. Cincinnati's coming in town. They're favored by 5.5 with a total of 49.5. Cincinnati isn't much, but you aren't a big fan of the Steelers. So what's your thoughts here?
Hard pass.
Hard pass. Jim?
Oh, boy. Yeah, there's a lot of bad teams in the NFL. I'm sorry. But, okay, you have 2 old quarterbacks, Flacco and Aaron Rodgers. Flacco's played pretty well. He put up points. He can hit those wide receivers. They get the tight end. He can put up points. The defense is absolutely horrendous. So, but can Aaron Rodgers do anything? The first game they did. They scored a lot of points. You're going to run into that bad weather here again, because the Cleveland, the Pittsburgh, the Buffalo is all in that same area of the bad weather. So I don't know how bad it's going to be by Sunday. Normally, I would play this game over without a question, but I don't know about the weather. I just don't know. I don't trust either team. Boy, I would like to see Cincinnati beat them, because if they beat them, they stay alive in the division. And 2 weeks down the road, there's a possibility that Burrow would come back because he's practicing now. However, is Burrow really going to be better than Flacco? Because Flacco's doing nothing wrong on offense. So I don't know. It's an interesting situation going on in that division.
What about you, Wes?
Yeah, taking an under with Cincinnati is like taking the life into your hands. So This is honestly one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Got to be, at least in the last couple of decades. That game against the Bears down the stretch, how they blew that game, unbelievable. But and all these Cincinnati guys like Hendrickson, he was rumored to get traded. He ended up not getting traded, so that's probably played a little bit into this. But what I saw with Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers, who I think has not really been the problem with the Steelers this season, like he's been consistent, steady Eddie. Their defense, to Scott's point, is overrated. Like, when does T.J. Watt seems to make the plays against bad teams? But again, in the big games, he hadn't been getting home. Like their pass rush hadn't been getting home. Their secondary's old and slow. I don't know what to do with this game. Market seems to like Cincinnati a little bit based on what happened last week. But it has to be up this time.
In respect to the show, I feel bad for just dodging the bullet, dodging the question, and just simply saying hard pass. So I will say that the Cincinnati Bungles, to Wes's point, you score 80 points in 2 games and you lose both. I don't want to hear about Joe, piece of shit, Burrow. This guy was alive and well and healthy week 1 against the Cleveland Browns. They won because of a missed kick, a chip shot kick.
That's true.
They also were outgained first downs. I can't believe I remember these things. Can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning. But 22-11, the Browns had first downs over Cincinnati in that game. And they outgained the Bungles by 150. The next week, the Bengals miraculously beat the Jacksonville Jags. And as I say, Burrow played in that first game. They were healthy, hungry. But if Zach Taylor is your coach, you're not going to win.
Wes, let me go to you and ask you about the Chargers going across the United States to Jacksonville. They opened at a 1.5-point favorite. Now it's up to 3. Totals at 43.5. What do you think about the Chargers going across the United States to play in Jacksonville?
Yeah, you couldn't lose a game in more excruciating fashion than I think Jacksonville did last week, and especially if you had a good number. When you get the big man touchdown on the very final play, and Houston ends up covering all numbers, whether they're favored or dog. But that being said, I'm going to the Jaguars this week off that awful loss where they totally blew it. I don't love this team. I've never really been a big Trevor Lawrence supporter necessarily. I think he's just kind of a middling guy, and that's what he's going to be. But it's more of a fade of the Chargers for me. And maybe it's my own eyes, seeing them in person. And I don't want to let that cloud my judgment. I went over for the Colts-Chargers game in SoFi a few weeks ago. The Chargers can't protect. They just absolutely can't protect. Now, when they got Alt back for a week, it was like, okay, we're good now. But so many injuries on the line, and you have Justin Herbert. You have that great quarterback who has all the potential in the world, and you just can't protect him. Chargers, I'm not going to lay the Chargers on the road, not only going across country. A lot of people are going to do that because Travis Hunter is now out for the season for the Jags. Brian Thomas, questionable, a little bit dinged up on the injury report. But I think the Chargers, you talk about an overhyped, overrated team. I think they're overrated right now, and they get the benefit of the doubt because of Jim Harbaugh. But Jim Harbaugh, they can be a little conservative with that play calling too, especially when you got Justin Herbert. It's like, just let him do whatever he wants to do with the football, and good things usually happen. But I don't like laying the Chargers on the road. I think that this is an absolute sell spot on this team.
What about you, Scott?
I think last week no one was talking about Jacksonville except me. The fact is the Indianapolis Colts with Indiana Jones. Daniel Jones plays more like Davy Jones. Hey, we're the Monkeys. Or Tom Jones. I have to tell you that I think that the Jags were just one game back. And yes, they lost. They took the apple, right? Up 3 touchdowns late and choked it away. But again, the final score is just another statistic. It's a great spot for Jacksonville. To Wesley's point, the Chargers, forget the fact they don't protect, they don't run. They don't run the ball, they don't protect. Last week was a perfect storm. I love the Chargers at home against the Steelers because their strength passing the ball with Herbert plays right into the weakness of the Steelers' pass defense. So that was winner steak and lobster dinner. But I like Jacksonville at home here.
What about you, Jim?
Well,
I know you're not a big Trevor Lawrence fan.
Not at all. We have a new head coach, and Trevor Lawrence, who I think is 6 years into this fantasy that he's actually good. But I got the better quarterback. I got the better head coach. I definitely have a problem on offensive line, and Wes pointed that out. There's no protection. It's really difficult to go out there and say, I'm going to play the Jags when I'm deficient at quarterback and at head coach. I'm just going to take a money line play, small bet, half a bet on the Chargers.
Well, let me stay with you then and go with Texans at the Titans. Houston's favored by a touchdown. Total's only 38.5. How legit is Houston?
Their defense is legit. However, how the hell did the Jags get all those points against them? That's what I would get, because their defense has been really rock solid up to that point. And because of that, because I don't know what happened, how that happened, because they got a good coach, they got a good defense. Granted, Stroud is out, but he doesn't play defense anyway. I'm going to pass this game.
What about you, Scott?
You're going to have to remind me what the game is. I was thinking you were going to West, but give me the game. I have an opinion.
Texans at Titans.
To Jim's point, yes, the Houston Texans have a very good defense. Number one, number two in all of football. But just like I was on the Tennessee Titans at home plus 10 against the Chargers, it fell 7. It closed 8.5. And it's too many points, man. The Tennessee Titans are a bad team. I get that, but points mean more than opinions. Give me the points, and I'll see the cashier.
What about you, Wes?
Yeah, the 7s disappeared this morning. I think there might be 1 or 2 left, but a lot of 6.5. So I think they're with me and Scott on this, because I agree with Tennessee. I don't know what Houston is offensively. I know they haven't been very good, whether it's been Stroud or Davis Mills, even though they ended up getting a ton of points in the fourth quarter. I'm still not a buyer on that offense. Been banged up at receiver, been banged up on the offensive line. Stroud not ruled in as of yet, so this may go back to 7 if he is ruled back in. But I think Tennessee off a bye, that they may get a little bit healthy. A healthier on defense. Could get Arden Key back, and especially Jeffrey Simmons, who's one of the better run stoppers in the league. They've missed him greatly on that defense. But this is also that old school, like kind of what we talked about with Miami and Buffalo. Down team that's been the shits all year, and then all of a sudden they get up for a division rival. And that's what you might have with Tennessee here, because of course the Titans, the former Houston Oilers, and there's always some heat between the teams because the Titans wore those Oiler uniforms. I don't know if they're wearing them this Sunday. That'd be a little bit of spice to what looks like a pretty boring game on paper, but Tennessee plus 7, and maybe it's by minus 115 or minus 120. I like the Titans. Low scoring game, a little bit of value to the dog here.
Wes, let me stay with you. With 49ers going into Arizona, which the Cardinals are a team I can't figure out, and I'm done trying to figure out at this point in the season. San Francisco was a 1.5 favorite. Now it's up to 3, total of 48.5. Do you like the Niners on the road?
Well, are we getting Purdy back? I don't know if we are, and I don't know how much of a difference. It seems like the market thinks so, even though I don't really think Mac Jones has been that bad as a starter. Like, he's been okay. He's been fine, not great, not bad. But the Niners, we talked about it, Tommy, with the Bucs, all their injuries. How long can the Niners defy logic? Because I was so high on them in the summer, and then they got into the pattern last year where they got everybody hurt. Bosa got hurt, and Fred Warner got hurt, and Kittle was out for a few games. Ayuk still hadn't come back. They're banged up at receiver. But Arizona, I don't know what they are either. That was very discouraging. By the way, Marvin Harrison Jr. not going to play this week. Maserati Marv, yet another one of those Ohio State receivers that, how do you evaluate quarterbacks at Ohio State when you're throwing the best receivers in the galaxy? But I digress. Arizona's got a lot of injuries as well. Small lean 49ers, but a little bit risky knowing what you're going to get week to week from that team.
Jim, what's your thoughts on the game? Do you have a feel on Arizona this year?
Well, Arizona's been a disappointment for years. I mean, everybody hypes them up. But at least Murray's not there, who I'm not a fan of Murray. I'm not a fan of Murray or Trevor Lawrence. So I'm hopeful that Murray doesn't play any more football for Arizona. He moves on to something else, maybe another sport.
Bowling.
Bowling. He'd be
Well, he's drafted by our future Las Vegas A's, right?
That's right. He could be baseball. He
Right.
could play baseball. He was drafted for baseball. I actually like Arizona. I think Brissett, but I mean they got smoked last week. that was ugly. I think they bounced back with a big effort. And this other team is really, really banged up. I don't know if there's any difference between Mac Jones or Purdy. I mean, at this point, Purdy hasn't played forever. And if he does come back, how good is he going to be? How ready is he? And from what I understand, this injury that he has could take a whole year to heal. I mean, that's the one doc that's on I think it's SSC site. He knows his stuff, and he thinks this could take a whole year to heal. So I don't know which quarterback. It doesn't matter to me. I think I'd take the home dog.
What about you, Scott?
Well, I have to tell you, this is a painful memory. Early in the year, any one of you that follow me know that I tend to not lay points, and if I do like a small dog or a small favorite, I'll generally find the cheapest proactively money line I can get. And I broke my cardinal rule, and early in the year, I took the Niners -1.5, only to have them win by 1. So the Niners, the team that I actually bet, they brought on the dancing girls and put the champagne on ice. Meanwhile, I'm stuck at home afraid to leave because I just lost $5,500. But in this game, Mac Jones, more than adequate. Just don't turn the ball over. Don't get in the way. Don't self-sabotage. They've got skill players at the skill position still offensively. Arizona, Brissett is the QB. That's all you need to know. The Niners, I was against them last week. I've had a pretty good read on this team consistently. The only reason they struggle, I like their coach, Shanahan, and he's going to find a way to win this game. So I respect Feist and Reynolds, but respectfully, I'm on the Niners.
Scott, I want to stay with you moving into Monday night with Dallas coming in town here to Vegas. Cowboys are a 3.5-point favorite. 50.5 is the total. I know the Vegas team, there's a lot of problems with that team. But are you going to take the home dog?
Are you kidding me? Pete Carroll, 74, an antique, the MVP of the Super Bowl when the Patriots stole that game because he decided, forget you got the best football player on the planet with beast mode. Let's throw a pass and see what happens. So I'm not a Pete Carroll fan. I'm less of a fan of Chip Kelly. They pay this clown $6 million a year as an offensive coordinator. He couldn't be an offensive coordinator for a middle school team. And then you've got the quarterback situation with Geno Smith. And, of course, I'm on the Raiders plus 3.5. Because the Dallas Cowboys cannot stop anybody. So the 3.5 points could help you. So I'm going to the game, and this is the one time I'll actually be on the Raiders, plus the points. The only thing I'm annoyed about, and this is so annoying, I can't even take my girlfriend. It's too expensive. Because these Cowboy fanatics, they're the most obnoxious fans on the planet next to the Pittsburgh Steelers fans. It's not the teams that I dislike. It's really the fans, the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. Who the hell are you to tell me who America's team is? And don't confuse America's team with America's most wanted team.
Wes, are you taking the home dog?
Oh, man. I don't know what to do with this game because, for what Scott said about Geno Smith, remember they wrote him off, but he didn't write back. They need to write him off again. It's not, he had a nice second act for his career in Seattle. He really did, got him to the playoffs, I think was very solid, but it's over. Like when they put Pickett in the game in the fourth quarter, when Geno had to lip off for a couple plays, I was like, okay, is Kenny Pickett going to have a chance to win the job here? And then, of course, they never let him throw the ball. They, right away, hand off the ball. Okay, don't let him make a play. It's like put him in bubble wrap, but they got to have somebody. I don't trust the offense necessarily with Geno. I trust Ashton Genty, and I trust Brock Bowers, but I don't trust Geno at quarterback. That being said, I don't want to lay points on the road with this Dallas defense. They're not quite Cincinnati bad, but they're bad. And you saw it against Arizona a couple Monday nights ago. They just couldn't get stops. If they don't get turnovers, you're going to move the ball up and down the field on them. So I have not played this yet, but it would be Raiders or nothing for me.
What about you, Jim? You do the same?
I'm going to dance through the raindrops here. I'm going to do what I've done all year long. I'm betting Dallas team total over. I don't see any way stopping this team. They're ready. They're prepared. They've had time to prepare. They can put up points. And the Raiders are nothing. I mean, yeah, we talk about Gino being bad. He shouldn't be there. I'm not sure Pete Carroll should be there. I'm not going to.
He may not.
Maybe he shouldn't be there. But I've always liked Pete, but I go back to what he did in the Super Bowl, how he lost that game to New England. That was horrible. And what he's doing this year is horrible. So I'm going to take the Dallas team total over.
Well, we don't have enough time to get into some questions, but I do want to make one announcement before we go. We haven't done this yet. Let's give a big round of applause to Jake from J. Lord. He supplies 3 bottles of wine every week for us to pass out to people that are here. Keep your tickets. Jake, thank you. Thank you for J. Lord. Thank you to Albert Scally. Round of applause for Scott Pritchard, Wes Reynolds, the man himself, Tim Feist. Good luck on your bets, everybody. My name is Tommy Canale. We will see you next week.